DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined once again by Frank Dolce. He's going to join us every week throughout the year to talk Utah football. Frank, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Frank.
It feels like this is just – did it feel like football season just ended?
No, it feels like it's been a very long time.
It really doesn't.
It feels like
it's been a long time, and it's been a long and hot summer.
And it has. And it feels like camp's been going on forever. I feel like
forever. We've
talked about almost everything, and I'd really like to see a game, and that'll give us new stuff to talk about.
Right. I know. The truth is, I don't really like all the preseason stuff. I mean, I guess I like to generally know who's coming back and kind of which position groups need some work and which people feel good about, but I don't do that. I'm not great at the speculation stuff. I need a few games of data to really feel like I'm making commentary that's meaningful.
What I find interesting, if the coordinator changes, if you have a good season, they got on the same page. But if you have a crappy season, well, they change coordinators. And so what is really the truth? Because obviously Utah is changing coordinators, and for Dampier, it's his guy. Losing Beck, what's his guy, right? They made an offense click at two different spots at a high level, and now McGiven, well, it's not that big of a deal. But yet if we get to November and they've lost 5 games, it'll be a big deal. I want to know where the truth is on that. Well said.
I think the truth thank you. I think the truth is somewhere. The truth might be somewhere else with this team because of what's happening up front. And I think that's the critical piece. But as far as Dampier and McGiven go, I just think it's going. I'll judge it based on the utilization, I guess. We keep hearing about the great wide receiver room at Utah, and I don't know. Like I said, speculation's in my thing. Maybe that's a thing this year. Maybe it's not. But Dampier and a great wide receiver room doesn't seem like an exact match to me. Maybe Ficklin is the guy with a really good receiver room, but as well as Dampier did last year, and some of the critical completions that he made, I mean that seemed to be the thing, is he made a throw and he made a play in a really critical situation. But I just don't. He's not like, he doesn't throw the ball downfield. That's not his strength. So I think it'll be based on utilization. How is Dampier able to be productive in the McGiven offense? So I'm curious to see how this. I don't think it's going to be throwing the ball downfield. And that could be completely wrong, but I'll be interested to see how that unfolds in these scenarios. Like, we know what Dampier is capable of. And if he falters significantly this year, then I would probably lean more on, well, maybe the coordinator's not putting him in the right situations.
I thought he was good throwing short and medium range passes. You're right about the deep ball, and I always thought there'd be a chance to throw a deep ball if he threw it earlier, because he's got to put air under it, right? If you take a 5 or 7 step drop and you wait until the guy's 20, 30 yards downfield to throw the ball, it's going to be underthrown. He doesn't have the kind of arm to throw a dart out there 50 yards. But if it's a 3-step drop and you throw it early and you throw it to a point downfield, maybe that could work. But there's a lot of big plays made in the passing game with medium-range throws if guys can run after the catch. I mean,
no doubt.
We didn't say this about Cam Rising, right? But if you take one long Cam Rising touchdown pass, most people would say, oh, he threw a crossing route to Money Parks and USC had like 6 defenders take bad angles, and it went for a touchdown, right? That was a medium throw. That's a throw Dampier can make and did make. And you got a guy.
Absolutely.
You got to have guys who can run. I just think with new coaches, it's a new head coach, it's a new offensive coordinator, it's a new receivers coach. If they're ever going to change what they have at wide receiver, it seems like now to be the time with a bunch of new coaches evaluating and new priorities from the coaches. And you've got an offense coordinator who brought in 2 receivers from the 2 schools he was at previously, and a receivers coach in Bumpus brings a guy in from Mississippi State. They're bringing in guys they know. There's no guesswork here. They've seen how they practice, seen how they watch film, see how they play in games. And if they don't get it right now, we should just stop talking about receivers forever. I mean, forget it. Never mind.
Forever.
Forever.
I think you're right. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is a downfield passing game doesn't seem to be a good match. Like he's not going to throw, seam route 15, 20 yards downfield or a go route or maybe even a deep crossing route. I don't know. But if it's a lot of underneath stuff, isolating receivers, crossing routes, utilizing tight ends, even backs out of the backfield,
pick plays.
I think all of that fits really well with Dampier's skill set. And then you mix into that his ability to extend a play and run the ball and all of those things. I think there's a good chance this could be a highly effective. I really like the running back group. I mean, I think there's a good chance in the offensive backfield this could be a really productive offense. But it still goes back to what's happening up front, how that unit's going to come together.
Yeah, for sure. They've got to get that offensive line to be productive. And if it is, I see no reason why minimally it's not as good as I'm talking about the offense in general, not as good as it was. It should be as good, is what I'm trying to say, as last year. I'm expecting it to be better because he's got another year experience. Ficklen's got another year of experience. They're not. I don't care what they can pump up the receivers all they want. Good for them. It doesn't really matter to me because as long as you get in the end zone, who cares? This is not going to be an offense that is known as a passing offense. If you're doing that, you're undercutting Dampier's overall skill level, and his skill level is extremely high with his ability to make plays, and the same with Ficklin. So I would suspect I wouldn't say, well, if they don't do it this year, they're never going to do it, because I don't expect them to do it. Be pass heavy. They would be silly to be pass heavy when you have those types of explosive runners and Parker, who is very good himself. So that's what you're going to do. I would expect to see more of the same, but maybe at a little bit of a higher level, and maybe that just boils down to Dampier staying healthy. And if that's the case, the offense should be very productive, but it's not going to have a bunch of 350-yard passing games.
No, I don't think so either. That is certainly a possibility. That could happen. I mean, 350-yard passing game, but I don't suspect that to be what this offense will be about this year. I'm also curious about Dampier and Ficklin and how you appropriately manage playing time for both of those guys. And I've talked about it. I know you guys have talked about it. A 2-quarterback system and the challenges associated with that. But it's really, I think it's really hard to keep a guy like Ficklin off the field for a significant amount of time. So I'm interested to see how Coach McGiven manages that piece of the game.
I'm really intrigued by that too. I don't have any good answers to that, but Ficklin seems, in everything he says, he seems to really get it and seems to like the plan. He gets the plan. He seems to like the plan. He seems very content when he speaks. I mean, we hear so much of the other stuff, and I just don't hear any of that out of him. And I'm pretty sure if that's what he wanted to get out there, he would figure out how to get it out there. So I'm with you. I can't explain it, but it seems to be working for the two of them.
The explanation is just go look at 25, the film from 25. Why wouldn't you do the same thing? It worked. Why would you change something that doesn't work? That is working.
I think the thought is he wants to be on the field more and do more. And maybe he doesn't. Maybe
he's got to beat him out or transfer, and he
yeah.
chose not to.
Right.
So I don't know why that thinking is.
Well, that's how I would be thinking, is I want to be on the field.
Yeah.
I want to be on the field more. And maybe it is a situation where he's content. Like he's content to get 10, 15 plays during a game maybe. And who knows, maybe they're going to utilize him in other ways. I mean, he lined up in different position groups last year. Ficklin did. So did Dampier. And so maybe that's a way to get around it. But I would just suspect, unless Ficklin is just saying, look, I know this is going to be a year where I'm limited in action, but I know I'm going to be the guy next year, and I can manage that, and I can play here for a couple more years as a full-time guy, and that'd be great. Maybe that's his mindset.
I mean, the game plan is already there. I don't see why you would mess with it. They won 11 ball games with that game plan and lost one game on the road by 3 points where they couldn't convert some fourth downs, and the coach decided not to go for field goals. And I realize we can second-guess all we want, but that's the reality of it. So continue what you do, just do it at a higher level, and I think it boils down to what you said, Frank, that the receivers are not going to be any worse than they were last year. Wayshawn Parker is not going to be any worse, barring injury, of course not, and hopefully that's not the case. And Ficklin and Dampier are not going to be any worse. At minimum, they're all going to be as good. You can argue they're going to be better, and then it boils down to the guys up front because they're the only ones who are different. Yeah,
I really think that's the case. It boils down to what happens up front. So, and PK, I don't know if I have not recognized this in the past, but it seems like you are very optimistic about this team this year, or the offensive side of the ball this year.
I see no reason not to be. If the offensive line, and Jordan Gross is telling us they're 10 deep, and they've got guys. The thing about it is they didn't have a bunch of guys just stand over on the sideline. They've got so many snaps. I saw the D News did a piece on it, and I saw it of the amount of snaps that these kids coming in this year got. And we know that the first rounders didn't play in the bowl game, and that bowl game sitting in the press box was the best that I've seen Dampier play. And, well, yeah, okay, that they just ran over and through and by and every which way to beat Nebraska. Their offense literally did it all. By air, by ground,
land, and by sea.
By sea, I mean, yes.
And sea. No, it did. It rained a lot during the SU Colorado games, and it still floated their boats. So
and I've got sea on my mind because I spent last week in the South Bay, Frank, and it was glorious. So yes, and I rode the waves for 4 days in a row, and it was awesome. So yes, they can beat you by sea too.
That is an amazing. It is an amazing. That's the one thing that I really miss from California. Utah's an amazing place, but if Utah had, here's what I would say: if Utah had a beach like the South Bay, and if it had 4 to 6 months of fall, it would be the perfect place.
Yeah, there'd be 25 million people here.
I was going to say, if Utah had a beach, there'd be 50 million people here, and you'd be complaining about the traffic just like you do in L.A. It's great, but I can't get anywhere.
I'd be calling you from Montana saying, if Montana
had a beach, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, I think it's an interesting – I think this is an interesting time for Utah football. There's certainly a lot of excitement about the program right now. I think that kind of excitement can carry you to a few wins, and then we'll see how the team settles into the middle of the season. If they get off to a quick start,
which I think they will.
The schedule lines up that way for sure.
Yeah.
So I would be optimistic about this team, but I think there's some question marks certainly that have to be answered that I just don't think we'll know until no one will know until we're a few games in. And that all of those things to me hinge around the 5 guys up front. I'm really interested to see how Jordan Gross does and how he puts that offensive unit together. It feels like the offensive line has been kind of a slow starter for Utah in the last few years, and then they seem to get rolling along. And this would, building a new unit lends itself to that. Maybe a slow start, but we'll see how they put it together.
Did you interact a lot? I know Alex Gerke was up there, but I don't know the timeline with when you were there.
Yeah,
because he's back as an analyst and Gross is the coach.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems like those two aren't going to mess that up. I mean, they aren't. I mean, between the two of them, they know what they're doing. It's an extra pair of eyes on that. And they've recruited well. It's like PK said, they were missing their star offensive lineman against Nebraska and had to run a bunch of guys out there, and 44 points. They went up and down the field on them all day. Didn't look like they were getting pushed very hard there. I get that they lost 2 first-rounders, so you've got to take the rebuild and you got to take it seriously. But at the same time, it seems very doable.
Well, I know Jordan Gross as a player wasn't your typical, or what you think of maybe as your typical offensive lineman. He was, super thoughtful about that position, just worked like crazy on his technique. I think that was one of the things. He was so big and powerful and dominating that maybe you just didn't appreciate the technique that he had, which, according to all sources was unbelievable. And that's why he performed so well for so long. And so all of those things to me say this is a guy that knows how to build, is going to have a really good insight in how to build an offensive line and put that group together. And of course, having the experience of Coach Gerke up there, who's been around the game, who's seen everything, it's really just hard to replace that kind of experience. And so those two together, if they're all that we think that they are, then yeah, sure. I could be optimistic about the offensive line. I guess what I am saying is I'm optimistic about the opportunity for the offensive line, and then we'll see how it actually unfolds in the first couple games.
That's fair. I believe that's fair. And I am optimistic. That team went 11-2 last year, and they got a ton of guys coming back. It was the quietest 11-2 in 11-2 history.
No kidding. Isn't that weird? Yeah. It certainly didn't feel like an 11-2 season.
Right.
And yet it was.
Because they lost a couple of games early.
Yeah, because they were 5-2, and 5-2 doesn't have any sizzle, and they didn't have a lot of, or any really big-time games after that. And the offense was on fire at that point, just lighting people up, with the possible exception of the Kansas game. They were just lighting people up the second half of the season. But nobody saw, even the biggest Ute fan didn't see a path to the Big 12 title game. Because nobody really believed BYU and Texas Tech were going to stumble. So that made it quiet.
And that may be the case. That may be exactly why, is because there was no path to the title game. And so 11-2, what an amazing season. Yeah. But in the midst of it, you're like, well, there's no chance of getting the title game. Yeah. So,
and then the coach leaves. That's what we're going to remember.
And then the coach leaves. Yeah. Yes. In all of our prognostication last year when we were talking, and this has happened for the last probably 3 years about Coach Whittingham, is he going to retire? Is he going to stay? None of it. I don't recall any of it where we said with any kind of seriousness, well, he's just going to go to another program. He's going to leave and he's going to go somewhere else.
He's going to get a lot of money to go away, and then he's going to get a lot of money to go coach in Michigan. That was not right.
That wasn't on the play sheet. None of us saw that one.
Here's one for you. What is on Kevin McGiven's play sheet? I guess one thing, he's got such a rep for being so innovative, spreading people out and throwing the ball around. And we saw it last year. It led to a lot of points and a lot of touchdowns. But Parker's so good, and he wasn't that effective in the first half of the season, but he also wasn't getting the ball in the first half of the season. Once he started giving the ball 15 times a game, his numbers exploded. A bunch of 100-yard games.
They were astounding.
They were astounding. Thank you. So do you think the magic number, should he be averaging 15 carries a game, 20? At some point there's diminishing returns and backs get beat up. What's a what's a good number as far as the number of touches he gets, whether it's they threw it to him a little last year, but not a lot, and maybe McGiven will change that. What's the number of touches for him and number of carries for him?
I think that Coach McGiven is going to be really thoughtful about the talent he has available relative to what he wants to do on the offensive side. I don't think it's lighting up the airwaves and throwing the ball all over the place. With that in mind, I would guess that you're looking at 20 to 25 carries a game.
Ooh. Yeah, 25 seems like a lot. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Just I think Ficklin gets carries. I think Dampier gets carries. Yeah, the other backs will get a few.
You're right. You're right. That's probably not taking into account other carries in the game. So, but I think we're in that. I think we're in that range. Like, to me, when if we're getting 20-ish carries out of a back a game, it feels like that means something's going pretty well in that area. And I always feel like that's an advantage for any football team if you're running the ball well. So I like that. I like that number, 20-ish carries per game.
Okay. I'll keep my eye on that then. Frank has spoken. We have the number. 20-ish.
Yes.
20-ish.
20-ish.
All right, Frank.
It's a talent. I like that running back room. It's a good group.
Who's your favorite number 2 after Parker? Have you got somebody figured out? Who's the backup?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, Dampier. I mean, that's probably my favorite number 2. Like, I think he is as highly regarded he is as a runner. I still think he's underrated as a runner. Like, he has a real knack. In fact, there were times when I thought, just put Ficklin at quarterback and put Dampier at running back. Like, I think he's that talented.
Maybe we'll see that.
Could be.
Can't let then the safeties have to stay deep. They can't come up and help. Like,
nope, that's right.
The option pass is clearly a possibility. I can't be cheating.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Run the option with Ficklin at quarterback, Dampier at running back. That is a nightmare for a defense.
All right, Frank, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you every week throughout the season. Can't wait. It's almost here now.
All right, you guys are the best. Good to catch up.
Thanks, Frank.